challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This is Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange. I'm Blessing Age. Now, this is the very first for this week. It happens to be almost the last week of the month of February, and today we'll be looking at how some Asian and Middle East countries are trying to facilitate global trade. The gentleman that you always see by my side, Femi Ayodele, has not failed to show up this morning just to help you have a great start to a new day. Hello, Femi.
Yeah, good morning. It's a beautiful day, you know, and another opportunity for us to start the week on a strategic level. So, my pleasure to be here. There's something about when your job is like your hobby. There's always this excitement when you're at work and then you're supposed to do what you ought to do. That's the way I feel this morning.
All right, but there's another side to it. When your job is like your hobby, your employer could hear that and say, why don't you need payments? Just joyfully do it.
Well, you create a balance. So for what you do, you get the other side.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But good to see you, Femi.
Yeah, good to see you. How was your weekend?
Yeah, very short. You know, in my mind, I'm thinking maybe we should include Friday to the weekend.
Interesting. For me, I had an opportunity to do one small one, but it's been a while. So that made my weekend productive.
Maybe I envy you in that regard. There was no one day.
Oh, don't worry. I'll fix you in the next one.
Please bring the invites.
Glad to know you're there with us. It's a beautiful Monday morning, an opportunity for us to look at issues related to business, you know, related to the economy. And today we'll be looking at issues that has to do with cross-border payment among the Arab nations. There's a new payment platform which is springing up called Buna, and then other nations are coming up, but we're going to look at the impact of this development. Don't forget you can be part of this conversation. All you just have to do is to go on a social media platform, on a YouTube page to share your view and to be part of your program. Let's set the ball rolling now with news update, and Grace is standing by in the newsroom to take us around the world.
Hello and welcome to News Update on Souq News. I am Grace Komolafe. After undergoing maintenance, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria FAN has reopened runway 18R/36L at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, following an 11-month closure. This reopening alleviates pressure on domestic runways, with international traffic now utilizing links 2 and 3 of the runway. Kenya Airport marked the occasion with a landing and a water cannon salute. Initially announced for an 8-week maintenance closure in March 2023, the prolonged shutdown disrupted air traffic flow, increased costs for airlines, and caused passengers delay. The managing director of the authority, Olubunmi Kuku, noted that the runway now reopened measures 3,900 m in length and 60 m in width, citing collaborative efforts with stakeholders and support from aviation authorities. Still in Nigeria, in line with Nigeria's leadership in Africa local content development, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, has hosted a two-day experience sharing session with Mozambique's Empresa Nacional de Hidrocarboneto, ENH, during the 8th Sub-Saharan African International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference in Lagos, led by Board's Executive Secretary, Engineer Felix Omashola Ogbe, and the company's chairman, Mr. Estevao Rafael Pearl. The session, facilitated by Aberdeen Global Strategies and Solutions, focused on fostering indigenous participation and value optimization in hydrocarbons and minerals. Participants delineated revenue generation versus in-country value maximization, stressing the latter's significance for sustainable sector growth. Key parameters discussed included regulatory frameworks, capacity building, funding, research, development, and market access. Moving on, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has announced a staff-level agreement with Ivory Coast for a $1.3 billion program aimed at combating climate change through the fund's Resilience and Sustainability Facility. Highlighting Ivory Coast's vulnerability to climate change, IMF noted challenges such as rising temperature, rainfall disruption, and coastal erosion, posing significant threats to economic growth. The program, spanning from 2024 to 2026, focuses on boosting climate adaptation and mitigating efforts in key sectors like agriculture, transportation, infrastructure, and public finance and management. Pending approval by the IMF's Executive Board in upcoming weeks, the agreement reveals collaborative efforts to address pressing environmental concerns while fostering sustainable economic development in Ivory Coast. And now, following last week's data revealing persistent U.S. inflation, the dollar maintained stability earlier today, delaying expectations for the Federal Reserve's easing Souq commencement. Meanwhile, the yen remained near the crucial 150 per dollar threshold, prompting market vigilance towards potential Japanese intervention. In early trading, the yen strengthened slightly to 149.94 per dollar, though it remains down 6% for the year. Against the euro, the yen hovered around 3 months lows of 161.925. Similarly, Ministry of Finance officials has issued warnings against rapid currency movement, hinting at possible intervention, while market analysts anticipate a test of last year's low of 152% per dollar. The dollar index started by week marginally low at 104.14, following 5 consecutive weeks of gains, reflecting trade-adjusted expectations for a delayed Fed rate cut. And finally, Indonesia's Apex Bank says the bank may maintain its key policy rate steady at the upcoming February 2021 meeting, citing subdued inflation and the strengthening currency outlook, with Indonesia's inflation rate remaining within the central bank's target range and the rupee outperforming many peers despite a 1.4% decline against the dollar this year. Analysts foresee the bank retaining its policy stance in the short term. All 30 economic surveyed expect Bank Indonesia to hold its benchmark rate at 6.00% last week, with median forecasts projecting stability until at least end of March. This aligns with the U.S. Federal Reserve's anticipated rate cut, with economists predicting Bank Indonesia's first rate cut in June, influenced by Fed actions. While some economists anticipate rate cuts as early as next quarter, external risks such as higher than expected U.S. inflation could delay such actions. And that's it. That's it on news updates this morning. Many thanks for watching. We'll return to Blessing Aiche and Femi Ayodele on Early Exchange. I am Grace Komalafe. Good morning.
All right, thank you, Grace, for adding flavor to the program with the news update. You actually took us around the world. The need for nations to collaborate economically, globally has been of concern to many experts. As many nations are looking this road, it's also important for them to have a central payment system. For nations in the Middle East, it's also high time for them to create such a platform. And that was what necessitated having a UAE-based payment platform called Buna, which the nations in the Middle East are considering as a way to facilitate trade. The interesting thing is some nations are going to be part of that payment platform between now and next year. You're going to have India, you're going to have Pakistan, and some other African nations. What will be the impact of this payment system? What are the challenges that might likely come? And what will be the outcome for these nations? These are things we'll discuss now. We have a in-house guest analyst with us. We're glad to have Sam Oruwije joining us this morning. Glad to have you join us this morning.
Good morning, Femi. My pleasure to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Blessing.
Great one. So how was your weekend?
Well, just so.
It's good to
When
start.
you say just so, it sounds like it wasn't enough.
No, I think I was at work the Saturday.
Okay,
Anyway.
so you didn't really feel like a weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we understand you provide 24-hour service, but it's always good to start on that lighter note so that at least we can have a relaxed kind of conversation. All right, let's look at this cross-border payment system, which virtually every region now is looking in that direction for countries to collaborate and through some platforms. The one we're looking at today is the UAE-based platform called Buddha, which the nations in the Middle East are looking as a way to facilitate trade. Give us a background to what is fueling this kind of initiative and development among nations, most importantly in the Middle East now.
Thank you very much, Femi. I think this came out at the recent concluded World Government Summit that took place in Dubai. The Minister for Financial Services put this to bear at the sideline of that event. What is important is that before now, the Bona cross-border payment platform has been very successful, particularly with Egypt, Lebanon, and some of those Arab countries within that region. So to a very large extent, it's been very successful. So they are extending that platform. China is likely to come in India and Pakistan, and some countries in Europe, and some other country in Africa. What that shows is that that will enhance settlement, particularly in trade. That collaboration will enhance trade among those regions that subscribe to that initiative. So what that brings to bear again is that increasingly the dollar as a unit of transaction in international trade is gradually weakened, and I hope this will improve on the trade collaborations among those countries that have subscribed to that cross-border payment system.
Now, talking about trade now, how much of trade do you think happens between the United Arab Emirates and some of those countries that it's trying to integrate into the cross-border payment system, which is the Bona? Now, for it to even have a currency that is for which cross-border payments can be done, it seems like it's seen as a strong trade partner.
No, the already collaboration among the UAE and those countries that we mentioned, particularly Egypt, Lebanon and all that, the dirham has always been used as a payment platform among those countries. So India, China and Pakistan coming on board equally have a lot of trading relationship with UAE and across those countries that subscribe to the new payment system. So that collaboration and initiative will improve on trade relation among the country, since payments will be settled speedily using a currency that those groups have subscribed to. In that regard, I think the volume of trade over time will equally improve beyond the current level of trade that exists among those countries.
Now, let's focus critically on some of these countries that will be coming on that platform between now and next year. The projection is that in the next 1 year, these countries will be part of the platform. You have India, you have China, you have Pakistan, and some European countries and African countries. What kind of impact will this be on the system? Looking at the peculiarities of this country, for instance, their size when it comes to their GDP, and then the kind of influence they have in that region, what impact will it have on this payment system?
Maybe apart from a few of the European countries that are subscribed to that payment system, you can see that the BRICS nation is expanding, and some of those countries within that alliance are already parts of BRICS. And this other payment platform system will equally enhance the relationship in kind of the strategic relationship that exists between those countries. Therefore, trade and investment will be done in a sustainable manner among those countries, and that will enhance the existing trade and the future partnership that we comfort based on that relationship. And the dominance of dollar gradually will be weakened vis-a-vis other payment platforms that are introduced regionally to enhance trade among themselves.
Do you foresee any regulatory hurdle that might impede this integration?
I don't think so. For nations to get into a summit arena and they subscribe to the backstage work would have been done, maybe apart from those countries in Europe who are strategically linked to the UAE, I don't really think any other partner in terms of assessing that cross-border payment will have any major challenge. Before it comes to fore, all the diplomatic and the consular relationship and the trade relationship among those countries will have been streamlined, and certain government-to-government agreements had been signed. And this cut across even government-to-government, government-to-people, and people-to-people will benefit based on that initiative, as was mentioned by the Minister for Financial Services of UAE.
Now, let's look at the benefits of this payment platform to Africa countries. You know, it's a UAE-based payment platform. Even though the reports are still sketchy about some of the African countries that are coming on board, they've not been mentioned yet. But if any of the African countries are part of this platform, looking at the relationship between UAE and some of these African countries, how huge will that kind of collaboration be?
Egypt is already part of that cross-border payment as we speak. So more African countries are coming on board for that payment. The idea is that it will ease trade among those nations that can settle their bills across border within those countries. So it will improve if more African countries come into that. The dominance of dollar in terms of transaction and the pressure on foreign exchange for those countries to a very large extent will reduce minimally. And that again will open up trade among those countries that are subscribed to that alliance for cross-border payment under the Bonner arrangement.
But in terms of exchange now, do you think it's going to have any benefits for countries that are joining, particularly for African countries? If you need to adopt the Bonner currency, now what would that involve?
No, what it means is that rather than using dollar as a means of international trade, you have other cross-border payment platform that will ease payment. So government to government, business to business, people to people transactions will be very fast based on this payment platform. So the reliance on dollar gradually is reducing. To that extent, it will impact on the relationship among those countries that subscribe to that payment platform. So business become very easy in terms of payment, because a platform is a unique driver in terms of international financial settlement among those alliances or countries that are in that belt.
So as a follow-up, I'm asking, will it have any positive impact on the local currency of those countries?
Of course, that will reduce, when you look at the exchange vis-a-vis the dollar, for the fact that you have other payment gateway, then I think that to a very large extent will impact on the local currency of those countries that are involved. And from the report so far, Egypt and some other countries that are in that platform are already enjoying that window in terms of quickened transaction and in terms of the exchange value that they do among those trading countries.
All right, let's go on a short break now. We'll be right back to discuss more, to look at this development as regards things taking place in the Middle East. Stay with us.
The heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
The challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This early exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the early exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
The challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This early exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the early exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Yes, glad to know you're still there with us. We're still looking at the cross-border payment system among nations in the Middle East. And we still have our in-house analyst with us. Sam is still here with us. Sam, glad to know you're still here with us.
A pleasure.
All right. Now, let's look at the statement made by the Minister of Finance according to this payment platform. The statement states that the essence of Brunei is to resolve all the challenges with particular focus on the Arab region to enhance economic integration within the region and empower the economies of the Arab countries. My question is, why the emphasis on the Arab countries if this kind of payment system is also to facilitate trade among nations in the Middle East and even just beyond that, European countries and African countries? But why the emphasis on Arab countries?
I think the emphasis is there for the purpose of improving on the ease of doing business within the Arab countries. So if other countries like India, Pakistan, China, and some other country, non-Arab countries within Africa, is just to increase on the integration of the economy. And when these payment settlements are done easily, that will increase on the volume of trade and the relationship beyond those countries that are not within the Arab region, that are trading with the Arab region. So that will help in economic integration, and that will benefit their people. So therefore, the purpose of any relationship is for the mutuality of what the people stand to gain. So if you have a settlement that will enhance the integration of the Arab nation, those up in the Middle East and some in Africa, therefore Pakistan and India and China that do business with them, will help to improve on that relationship. Therefore, it becomes more beneficial to the Arab nation in particular.
But if you look at the Arab League, wouldn't it look like more like their priorities have been centralized in this kind of payment system? And will it not breed distrust on the part of some other nations if the structure is left this way?
I don't think so. Economic integration is to enhance the benefits that you get from those kind of relationship. I don't think so. They are just consolidating on how best they can improve the life and the welfare of their citizens. The international politics is very dynamic. People begin to look where their interest is up at any given point in time. Therefore, that initiative will continue to improve on the welfare of the citizens. And the alignments will continue to change from time to time.
All right, let's look at potential negative implications of this currency or this other countries joining the BONA cross-border payment system. One, let's look at the possible dependence on the UAE financial infrastructure. Does it have, or would it have any negative implication on these other countries?
No, I don't think so. It's just a means of settlement. So every parameter, every framework will be put in place among the nations that are participating in that single infrastructure in terms of the payment platform. So once that is done, issues of terrorism, money laundering will have been taken care of based on the framework that those countries will put in place to safeguard those relationships. So I don't really think there's any problem with that, because every financial framework needs to be reworked from time to time. So that policy regime that has been put in place among this government, particularly government to government, people to people, business to business, that platform will enhance their relationship, and every safeguards will be put in place to secure the payment among those countries.
Let me point your attention to also the statement made by the CEO of that central payment platform. He said that today cross-border payments are facing challenges related to slowness. I would like you to react to this, to slowness, lack of transparency, and difficulty in assessing. Now, looking at some of these challenges that's been mentioned by the CEO, what do you think can be done to erase this kind of imminent challenges that may, affect this kind of payment system? Is pointing attention to these things which are very peculiar to this kind of centralized payment system. Now, for this kind of one being considered for the Middle East, the issue of slowness, lack of transparency, and difficulty in accessing this platform, which could be peculiar to any other platform that is technologically driven anyway.
I think what you're trying to speak to there, if I understand you very clearly, is speaking to the larger platforms of payment that are challenged by being slow, transparency. When you talk about transparency, you talk about money laundering, financing terrorism, and other illicit financial transactions. So it's saying, in line with this relationship among these few countries, once this platform is open to this particular country that is subscribing to it at this particular point in time, those challenges that he's talking about will be reduced minimally. Every payment platform may have this challenge, but I think he's talking about a larger payment platform that has challenges. Therefore, there's a need to take advantage of this cross-border transaction that is dedicated to a few countries to ease financial settlement among the trading blocks that subscribe to that system.
All right, so what do you think is the interest for China, for instance, China and India wanting to join? That of Pakistan, one could understand that is also a Middle East country, so it's more like their region. But for China and Pakistan, for China and India, what do you think is the attraction for them in wanting to integrate into the border?
I think it's just a strategic initiative to enhance trade relation. There are lots of trade between China, India, and the Middle East. So that platform will improve on the settlement of trade among those nations at the level of government to government, business to business, individual to individual, or people to people, as the case may be. So it will be mutually beneficial to them in terms of sustaining their trade relationship. The volume of trade between the Middle East and India and China is very high. So this will help to streamline and help settlement quickly for those who do business among themselves.
All right. Permit my use of word, but it seems like there's this economic coup against the dollar, globally. I say you should permit my use of word. I had to use the word coup because it's looking like some people just feel, okay, in the international trade, we just need to mitigate against the influence of dollars. And this is what is playing out. Last week we talked about, the influence and the collaboration among the BRICS nation, and here you have another platform. What's playing out and what will be the fate of dollar in international trade?
Essentially, it's international politics. Since the Second World War, the dominance of the United States of America has been questioned. I often use the word that the U.S. is always mounting democracy and the rule of law. And on the other side, they are causing proxy wars across the globe. To that extent, most countries want to free themselves with the influence of the dollar on trade. So this new alignment, new initiative, new relationship across the globe is welcome to the extent that when America sneezes, I think that will reduce to a very large extent. I don't have any problem with countries making new relationship to enhance their trade. And I think Africa, as a continent, must equally take advantage of this new initiative so that they can reduce the impact of the dollar and the foreign exchange quagmire that most African countries, particularly Nigeria, has suffered in recent years. So this is a win-win situation for those countries who want to leave the dollar regime that has slowed down some development of some country where there's over-reliance on the dollar for settlement in international trade.
Talking about wins, this kind of position the UAE as a global trade hub. Do you think so?
No, that relationship is there already. They're just expanding that relationship so that some of the hiccups that the CEO of the Bona payment settlement mentioned, sometimes when you settle bills, it's slow, there are issues. Therefore, with this new gateway that is open to the trading partners with the Middle East, that will sustain their relationship further, and the ease of doing business will be fast-tracked among those countries that subscribe to it.
Now, you have Egypt to be part of this platform. Let's paint a scenario now for Nigeria. If Nigeria is going to be part of this platform, you're aware of the volume of businesses between, Nigerians and people in the UAE. People travel to UAE for tourism, for other business reasons. Now, if Nigeria is going to be part of this payment platform, what impact will it be for a country like Nigeria? The word is if. We know Nigeria is not part of it now. But do you foresee a large impact on Nigeria economy or a kind of good relation between Nigeria and UAE if Nigeria keys into this kind of payment platform? And will it facilitate trade?
Well, the government has to do is cost-benefit analysis in terms of when to join, how to join, at what are the benefits of joining. So in the long run, I think Nigeria may go in that direction, because if you look at the major trading partner, China, India, and possibly Pakistan in terms of garments, that in no distant time, Nigeria may join, and that will improve on the impact of dollar in terms of the exchange value. If you have other platform where money can be exchanged and you can trade quickly, then that impact on the dollar, on the local currency will reduce, in my view. But then, as we speak, that is not on the table. But I think in the long run, if you see so many countries aligning with some other country, I think it will be beneficial for Nigeria in the long run to join that payment platform.
In terms of financial inclusion, will this have any impact or benefit for the businesses and individuals from these countries that will be making use of the border payment system?
Of course, in this service, already financial inclusion for the fact that the cross-border payment has extended to increase on the number of countries that use that channel for payment. So that's to a very large extent. If you look at it from the micro level, that's at the individual level, then that's more financial inclusion. So because these payment systems does not stop at government alone, does not stop at business to business alone, individual to individual transactions, in terms of remittances, payment of school fees, and other personal transactions will be enhanced through that platform. So that will improve on financial inclusion, which the world is moving quickly to. So once there's more financial inclusion, then payment services are done quickly and speedily, which enhance the transaction time for trade.
Are there other challenges you foresee might likely, occur with this kind of alliance, especially to the ones that are peculiar to cross-border payment system? Are there other challenges that could arise?
I think the challenge generally with cross-border payments has to do with money laundering, financing terrorism, other illicit transfer of money, offshore and onshore, as the case may be. But if I heard the minister very well, he was saying that the platform has already mitigated against some of those illicit transactions. Therefore, that fear is not there at the moment.
All right, let's look at the ability of the UAE to create a payment platform, system for cross-border trade. Now, Africa has been trying to do something like that for a very long time, coming up with a single currency for Africa to facilitate cross-border trade. Now, what is to learn here in the case of the Bona?
I think here is even the ongoing summit. I think even our president made a proposal with a view to enhancing a common currency for Africa. The challenge here for us in Africa is the politics of the different colonial authority that has held Africa down for a very long time. So the lesson is that for Africa to be able to sustain a cross-border payment system, they must have the political will and find a way to do away with this colonial heritage that divide us. Rather, we should focus on things that bring us together and integrate us so that we can benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement that is designed to improve on intra-African trade.
All right, away from issues related to these cross-border payments system, now let's look at the relationship or the economic relations between U.S. and China. You know, over time, this, I don't want to use the word power tussle or this power play or economic rivalry between these countries have been lingering over the years, and it's looking at a reality to live with at the moment. Talk to us. What are some of the realities playing out between these two nations? And looking at the meeting that happened between Foreign Affairs Minister for China and that of U.S. Secretary of State last week, what will you make of the relationship between these two countries?
It's essentially a power play. There's a mutual suspicion between the United States of America and China in terms of the increasing dominance of China in global affairs. So in that regard, the United States of America does not want to give its power relation to China. But the reality on ground is that China increasingly dominates global affairs. So but the politics in terms of sanction, the relationship between China and America will continue to be a global discourse over a period of time. But essentially, it's power relation, it's mutual suspicion between the two countries. Then, but to what extent can they resolve this power relation issue? It remains to be seen how quickly that can be resolved.
All right, so what do you make of the call from China to the U.S. to lift what they term illegal sanctions and to ease travel concerns? Do you think China is right in terming those sanctions illegal?
All right, it is within the sovereignty of each country to look at the interests of their country. If America has put some sanction on China for certain reasons, that would be in the national interest of the United States of America. On the other hand, China is calling that some of those illegal sanctions, the word illegal here is debatable, whoever is using the word. But I think if some of those sanctions will continually affect China, it equally have negative impact on the United States of America because they have a trading relationship that exists, and both countries cannot do without themselves in terms of trade. But I think diplomacy in terms of this shuttle diplomacy between the two foreign affairs ministers will help to resolve that growing tension, and I think diplomacy can resolve to a very large extent on how they can shape policies in terms of removing sanctions, whether they are legal or illegal.
Now, the issues playing out here is the fact that the United States has decided to place sanctions on some Chinese companies for them not to be able to have access to some technologies. And the reason cited by the U.S. government is for some national security reasons, national threat. Do you think this is something to go by? And how do you see the relationship between these two countries playing out? If U.S. insisting, that we're not going to lift this ban for security reasons, and you have China on the other hand arguing that this is illegal, do you see this will further deplete the kind of relationship these two countries have, or do you see any diplomacy being applied to resolve this issue?
National interest is the common currency in international relation and international politics. So each country must pursue their national interest. Whether this diplomatic shuttle will help to reduce the tension, one may not be able to see that on the table quickly, but then Russia has a way of trying to mitigate some of those sanctions. The U.S., on the other hand, is essentially trying to protect its national interest. Again, that is essentially about the mutual suspicion that exists within the country. But then, in terms of the existing relationship, I think they will find a middle ground through diplomacy to be able to resolve some of their issues.
Now, this is not the first time that the U.S. and China are having some kind of trade war or some row between them. Do you think that it might get to the point where there will be some reciprocity from China should the U.S. refuse to give in to China's request?
Reciprocity in terms of not wanting to do business with the United States of America, or is in terms
in terms of also looking for a way to maybe sanction the operation of some U.S. companies in China, or just find a way to get back at the U.S.?
I think what they are doing, the two foreign affairs ministers are already on the talking term. I do know that diplomacy will resolve the problem, because there are mutual interests that will be sustainable over a period of time. But then, if America continues to hold a very strong position that is not in the national interest of China, maybe they may look at options, when they weigh their options, which option will be best for them, whether to use the principle of reciprocity in terms of the relationship that exists between them. But I think diplomacy is a win-win solution for this kind of issues among the major players in the international system.
Okay, how will you react to the statement, credited to the U.S. president, referring to the Chinese president as a dictator? In fact, at a press conference, the issue came up again, and he said he stood by his comment. And don't you think this will further deplete the kind of relationship there, or there's element of truth in what he said?
The United States of America has the freedom to make any statement. Whether that statement is serious or it has any impact is a different subject matter. But on the other hand, American has always talked about democracy, the rule of law, and at the end of the day, they are instigating proxy war. They are supporting countries against other countries. So when you talk about dictatorship, these are just political statements to show up the public image of those leaders. So America, yes, prides itself as a beacon of democracy across the world. But if you look at their affairs across the world, even the current relationship between Israel and Palestine, the hand of America for Israel against the Palestinians is open, and you have other places where they had been involved in proxy war. But on the other hand, China does not shy away from the centrality of the way they pursue their national agenda. So whether you accuse Xi Jinping as a dictator remains to be seen.
All right, talking about China not shying away from its system of government, they also seem not to be shying away from every move to de-dollarize the global economy. First with the BRICS, and now with the Bonner. Now, what do you think will be the reciprocal move of the U.S. as China is building more alliance with countries to de-dollarize the global economy? Do you also see the U.S. building more trade alliance with other countries to sustain their influence?
Whereas fluid and dynamic, a nation will continue to pursue their national interests. So where they think their national interest is uppermost, they will find a way to grow those relationships. On the other hand, BRICS has come to stay. The effort by the BRICS nation to reduce the influence of the dollar has equally come to stay. But then America, with a view to see how that their own strategic influence is shaped over time, will find a way to see how they can influence other countries not to join in those new alliances that are coming up. But what is important is that national interest, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, will continue to dictate the affairs of nation.
All right. Interestingly, the Foreign Affairs Minister provided a solution to this, and let me read it out, and I would like to also react. He said, the two sides should adhere to the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, win-win cooperation, actively exploring the right way for the two major countries to get along with each other. Do you agree with that?
Perfectly well, and that's like I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation.
The
that
issue of mutual respect.
Yeah, mutual respect is number one when you do some strategic partnership among nations. So that mutuality of interest is uppermost in that relationship. Then collaboration, economic prosperity for citizens are the driving force in those relationships. I think, in my view, that's okay.
Hold on, it's rather said than being done in reality. What kind of mutual respect do you think U.S. should have for China if this rivalry has been on for a while?
No, in spite of those mutual suspicion, sovereignty is key. The sovereignty of a nation is key. So every country has its own sovereignty. They make their laws. They know what is suitable for their citizens. So on the other hand, the U.S., so everybody who plays in the international system knows to what extent they can interfere with the internal politics of other nations. That again speaks to the concept of mutual respect among countries. So, and that is what can sustain those relationships. So when there's a breach in the relationship, then nations can go into war. But then we don't really have real wars these days. You just have proxy wars. So that's, to a large extent, we help in sustaining the relationship among those nations. So mutuality is key and central to national sovereignty.
Okay, talking about proxy war, it's kind of interesting how we've seen that play out in recent time, where there's a conflict between countries and there's a suspicion of another country being actually the push why that conflict has degenerated. So it seems to be a new tool used by countries. Now, what would make it impossible for certain countries not to allow themselves to be used as the proxy weapon for other countries, or to not fall into that trap? So
it's essentially about the leadership, and even when you have allies all over the world, the extent to which they direct your internal politics must be controlled by progressive leadership. So that can, once the leaders are very clear-minded in terms of what constitutes their national interests, even though they have allies elsewhere that support some of their economic agenda, they should not open their borders to countries that want to impact them negatively in terms of proxy war.
But sometimes it's not very clear to know the intention of the other party. They begin as alliance, they begin as friends, and then before you know it, there's a kind of influence, and it's somewhat not very clear to the countries what is actually going on until it begins to happen, and they sometimes the collateral damage in the proxy war.
No, that's a subtle diplomacy, but a nation with well thought out foreign policy framework should be able to discern where other nations want to influence them negatively, that not in the interest of the country, or something that will impact negatively on the citizens of the country. So alliances are okay, but then you must be very clear with the kind of foreign aid, foreign intervention, foreign support that you get from some countries, that they don't use you against some other nation or against your neighbor for their own advancement of their foreign policy objective, either to sell their war weapons or to find a way to pull money out of your country. So once you understand those dynamics in international politics, then you'll be able to be guided appropriately where such subtle moves come into your nation.
Now, I'll still refer you to another statement made by the minister, because it seems to me that part of what is fueling this rivalry is also the position of the United States when it comes to Taiwan, respecting the independence or the sovereignty of that nation. Hear what the minister said about this. He said, "There's only one China in the world, and Taiwan is part of Chinese territory, which is the real status quo of Taiwan question. He warned against Taiwan independence, which with the connivance and support by external forces that are attempting to change the status quo." How do you react to that?
The Taiwan Strip, as it's called, has been a long-drawn issue in international relation. China has always claimed ownership of Taiwan, but then other countries feel that China has overbearing influence on Taiwan. Therefore, they are supporting Taiwan to find a way not to be part of Russia. That is going to be a very difficult issue to resolve. And I think over the years, diplomatic means have often been used to discuss that problem. But to what extent can the West be able to get Taiwan out of China is going to be a tall order. So, but talks and this kind of shuttle diplomacy will continually help to douse tension from both parties. But then, in the final analysis, China will continue to lay claim to Taiwan, in my view.
All right. Now, if China has been accused of having overbearing influence over Taiwan, do you also think that even the U.S. and some other countries pushing, particularly the U.S., for Taiwan to annex from China is in a way an overbearing interference on the affairs of these countries?
That is the reason for this shuttle diplomacy. Over the years, this kind of visits has been ongoing to find a way not to escalate to a point where there will be a full-blown war. But I think diplomatic shuttle, government-to-government talk, and to a very large extent, people-to-people diplomacy will help to see how that relationship does not get to a point where it might result in total warfare.
Is it about, for the U.S., is it about wanting Taiwan to be free, or they also have vested interest?
It's essentially about vested interest in terms of trade, in terms of relationship. The United Kingdom equally have an interest in that area. So that political game will continue to be there for a very long time, but I doubt if Taiwan will be able to harness itself from the influence of China. On the other hand, China will not want to let go of Taiwan because of our own interests. So everybody is pursuing their national interests with the country. Not necessarily they are interested in the independence and the well-being of this country, but just what would they benefit. So national interest is essentially what is driving that process.
Let's wrap up. with this? I'm not turning you to a prophet, but do you foresee a meeting between the presidents of these nations? Yeah, will it make any impact? Maybe at least a phone call. And do you see that happening before the U.S. election?
Well, I doubt that since I'm not a foreign policy expert working for those countries. But I do know that telephone calls are normal currency of a relationship. Phone calls are always put through. Even when they made this shuttle diplomacy, Xi Jinping and the American president had a meeting in the past. I remember there was a visit sometime 2 years ago to California. So those things will continue to happen, but whether anything will happen before the United States of America election, I cannot say for sure, because I'm not within the corridors of foreign policy experts that advise those governments.
You don't want to turn yourself to a seer.
Thank you very much.
I don't want to speculate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sam Oruje, for being on the show today. You've actually provided insights and talked a lot about the relationship between these countries, and also the integration of the Chinese, Indian, and Pakistani currencies into the United Arab Emirates-based cross-border payment system, which is the Bona. Sounds like Bona Boy, maybe. That may just be a reason or an inspiration for Africa to come together and have their own currency to facilitate cross-border payment system. Thank you so much again for being here.
My pleasure, blessing.
Let's take a quick break and return to look at some issues concerning Nigeria.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godi Odidi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for? And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching Souq News.
In the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress, welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions. Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Mase Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, Souq Enlightenment. In the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress, welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
My name is Dr. Agility Obi. My name is Etemere Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
The heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
The challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This is Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Yes, indeed, we're still shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation earlier, we talked about the cross-border payment system that is to facilitate trades among nations in the Middle East. And now we want to look at things that have to do with Nigeria. Efforts being made by the CBN to address the issue of FX in Nigeria. It has been of concerns to Nigerians, to expats, as regards the exchange rate in Nigeria. It is often said that when the dollar sneezes, the naira is in trouble. But what should be done on the part of the Central Bank of Nigeria, who has the responsibility to monitor what has to do with monetary policy in Nigeria? What can be done in the interim? What can be done in the long term to address these issues? We have an expert here with us this morning. We have the privilege of hosting Mukhtar Mohammed, who is a financial analyst. Glad to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Ayo. It's always a pleasure to be on your program. Thank you.
Looking radiant this morning, and I like the smile. Perhaps you're not feeling the impact of the exchange rate between naira and dollar. All right.
We just have to take it in our stride.
Great, great. No wonder they say Nigerians are happy people. We learn to move on, irrespective of what is happening. But on a serious note now, that's just to start on a lighter note. But on a serious note now, let's look at the situation we have in Nigeria, looking at the exchange rate between the naira and the dollar. Is highly troubling for an average Nigeria. Let's create a background to this. How did we get to this level for Nigerians to understand? Because some people just have the impression that the federal government should have the magic wand to do wonders and make things work. As someone who has, financial background, give us a proper understanding of what has led us to this situation and what Nigerians need to understand about the economics behind the exchange rate.
Thank you again. What brought us here is things that we've been doing wrongly for decades. And I mean decades, we've been doing things the same way. We expect different results. And we've been using our revenue to supplement our luxuries. And again, for thus far, we've seen how we've of Nigeria, all about FX was about taking from our foreign reserve to stabilize our currency. We import virtually everything that we need. There was no clear-cut policy to grow the home economy. There was this monster first fuel subsidy that we've paid, or what I call fuel subsidy scam that went for decades and decades, and it was dollars. NNPC became the tower of corruption, paying off most of all these dollars to people that did not even lift a single liter of fuel into the country, PMS into the country. The CBN kept on subsidizing dollar to naira for the bureau de change. $200 million was being given to them every month for doing nothing, just to take it to the market for other Nigerians to buy, to travel, or also to use for other things. So we've been doing a lot of things wrongly for a very, very, very long time. And what happened is that when there's an external shock, because we don't have a robust reserve, we tend to suffer. Then the value of our currency goes down. Now, the only time that we didn't suffer when there was an external shock was when in 2008, when the President Olusegun Obasanjo was in power at that time. We have built a robust reserve by the ingenuities of Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the then finance minister. She makes sure that we have a very robust reserve at that time. Remember, that's when we had the issue of the excess crude account. So we built those reserves, and again, we were able to withstand that storm. And that was the only time that an external shock came in and we were able to stand. After that, we squandered those reserves by the Goodluck administration through the Governors Forum, led them by Bukola Saraki. That was the only reason that they were going to support Goodluck to become the interim president. After that, Goodluck took the bold step through Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala to remove subsidy when he saw it was becoming a monster. It was eating our revenue. The same people that were in power today gathered all of us in Ojota, and we sang and danced and ate food. And then we brought back the subsidy. And today, 13 years after, the surgery that we refused to undertake, we are not taking it. Now, how did we get to here that is 1,500 now, even in an official market? Was we decided to flood the Naira through a World Bank advice, and the World Bank gave us all the assurance that they are going to help us stabilize the currency. They're going to give us, make sure that we stabilize, we float our currency so that market forces will stabilize. Then they forgot, we also forgot to remind ourselves that we don't have the liquidity to leave our currency in the hand of market forces. So we can go on and on. Basically, what brought us here are two major things. We subsidized foreign exchange by giving them a parallel market more power to determine the rate. And secondly, we were busy, three things that, and then we're busy importing virtually everything we need. Even the government were not exempted from that, previous government, and even including this government. And then lastly, I think the fuel subsidy that we have paid over the years have been one of those three major factors that have impacted our economy that we are suffering for it now.
All right, Mukta, good to see you. Good morning.
Thank you for having me again.
So since the Naira has consistently, the Naira to the dollar exchange rate has consistently defied the CBN policies, what is the way to go now? It is right now at an alarming rate, and there are speculations about it even going, plunging further. What can be done?
I think, blessing, what we've seen is that we have a CBN that seems they lack ideas at the moment, and they've been coming out with policy. I'm expecting this week there will be another policy document. It's now becoming a weekly affair. You get this policy document today, you get another policy document tomorrow. So this week I'm waiting for which one will come out from the CBN, all in the bid to stabilize the exchange rate. I think they try to run away from the fact. The fact of the market is that the fact of the matter is that we need to earn more effects into the economy. We need to put off our liquidity. What happens to the $10 billion that the Minister of Finance will show off our reserve? What happened to the $3 billion that NNPC have collected as loan to make to stabilize our currency? What has happened that our external reserve is going up, yet our currency is still going up. The Naira is still being beaten and battered by the dollar. What is happening that the bank have injected over 5 billion into the foreign exchange autonomous market, and yet the Naira is still suffering? What is it that is happening? They need to tell us one. But again, the bottom line is that if all this liquidity are in the system and you are not able to stabilize the rate, how will you stabilize the rate? That means we need more liquidity. The challenge we have as it stands now is liquidity. We need to have more dollars into our economy. If we have it, then demand and supply will come. When demands are met and supplies, when supplies are met, and you still have a lot of people still the demand and supply. So when you demand and you're able to supply, once supply exceeds demand, then you see that the rate will definitely come down. But now what we are saying is the demand is exceeding supply, so market forces are playing. So it's the scarcity. So what we need now is for the CBN to begin to attract investment. And like I said in one of the shows I have is that presently what the CBN is doing is trying to do policy. Policy can only stabilize your rate in the short term. When I talk of policy about sending memos to bank, do this, do that, it will not. Monetary policies is what will stabilize your rate. Fiscal policy is what will stabilize your rate. There seems to be no synergy between the CBN, the CBN, the monetary policy, and the fiscal side. And that's what happened during President Buhari tenure. We hope it will not happen now because we have a special advisor on monetary policy to the president. I think he should be advising them at this moment. When you have consumption at $800, that's budget, and then you have investments 1,500, depending by market forces. That's parallel things they are doing, because the fiscal policy is saying we'll have 800 is the exchange rate by the budget. The monetary policy is saying, look, we are going to make sure that market forces determine the rate, and as it stands today is 1,500. You will not attract investors, and the only way you can the only way you can stabilize your rate at this time is to attract investors to come up with FX into your market. That is one. Secondly, you need to engage Nigeria in the diaspora. I was upset when I heard the CBN governor talking about 49 billion that have been spent on educational for educational of school fees abroad. And I said the CBN governor also have not also done the calculation of how much is coming as a result of these fees that we will spend over the 10 years period. Because as per 2020, the inflow from Nigeria in the diaspora was more than the oil revenue that we earned that year before the advent of COVID. So we must begin to look at how can we engage them to begin to bring FX into the economy. A situation where the president traveled out of the shore of this country to ask investors to come into Nigeria, and you can repatriate your money, and then that's the physical side. When the monetary policy comes in and say, look, as an investor, we only allow you repatriate 50% of your funds. The remaining 50% must be here for the next 90 days. So you see, you are talking with both sides of the mouth, and that will not give investors confidence to come to your market. So what are we doing? We need to begin to boost investors' confidence. We need to begin to attract liquidity. How would it have been if the CBN have said, you know what, you can repatriate 50% of your funds out of the shore of this country, then invest the other 50% into our own treasury bill to attract some interest in the next 30 days, and that will boost liquidity. But you can't be telling me that I need to do an investment in my own place, and I can't do it because I must make sure that I keep that rate at 50% my funding here for the next 3 months. So those are part of what I say. The monetary policy and the fiscal side seems to have different idea on how to handle this issue. And that has been the major problem. So you see what the solution? The solution is bring in liquidity, bring in liquidity. And the only way you can bring in liquidity, Nigeria and the diaspora, sale of crude oil, foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investors. Now, which of them do you have control over? It seems that we don't have control over any of them. Like when you talk about crude oil sales, we've just heard that those numbers have gone up. But OPEC said we did not miss our quota in December. In December, the National Security Advisor said we have made about 1.6 million. Hopefully, we'll begin to balance that number. We'll see how it goes. Then remittance for Nigerian diaspora has not been coming in. And again, the kind of policy we are bringing in now, will that make them want to bring in their FX into our space? I don't think so. Foreign direct investors, they will not come as it stands because it's very unstable, it's volatile for them, likewise portfolio investors. So how do you solve this problem? You need to look at these 4 key areas and begin to bring in policy that will make them want to bring in their funds into our country.
Interesting. Now, let's look at some of the efforts being made by the CBN in recent times to address these FX issue. Part of what was done earlier in this administration is to decide to float the Naira. As an expert in this area, what do you think will have been done differently? And I want you to be very practical here.
Okay. I'm not against the floating of the Naira. I think what we should have done was to make sure we have our house in order, we have enough liquidity in the system. No CBN in the world, no central bank, any part in the world will allow market forces to determine your rates. You must have the war chest. When I mean war chest, you must have the liquidity. At the time we're floating the rate, we should have known what is the original value of the naira to the dollar. And if it goes above that value, how do we intervene? Because the CBN still is the largest earner of foreign exchange in Nigeria. All the crude oil sales goes to the CBN. It doesn't go to any commercial banks. So they were supposed to look at that and then said, okay, you know what? This is the right price of the naira to the dollar. Hey, 800 naira or 750, like they said before. Then you said, okay, we are floating the naira maybe below that amount. Then it moved to that amount. Then when you see that it's going above that amount, then you come in there and stabilize it. For me, that is the key. So what did we do wrongly? What would I have done rightly? Would have make sure that we have the liquidity. We have make sure that we know what is the true value to the naira and to the dollar. Are we able to maintain that value by maybe not intervening every day? But again, when you realize that, oh, look, the naira is going to about 850 or 900, and it's not supposed to. What's driving it to that space? Oh, there's no supply. We supply and we balance liquidity. As you are doing that, then you begin to look at other sectors, and that's the physical side. How can you come up with policies that will attract more effects into our economy? The floating of the naira is good, but if we have been able to float the naira and maintain stability, by now, maybe the exchange rate would have gone to as low as 650 to 700 because investors will want to come in at that rate, knowing that there is stability. So what have we done wrong? We did not do our homework very well, and that's the penalty. So what we would have done was to make sure we have the war chest to intervene occasionally in the market to make sure that the naira true value is maintained. That we did not do, and we are still not doing it because why? We don't have enough FX to do that.
All right, one of the reasons the CBN governor gave for the pressure that the dollar is currently experiencing, the high demand for the dollar, is the use for the dollar as payment for tuition by Nigerians who study abroad, and medical tourism and all other needs that Nigerians are currently having that they didn't have several years ago, which made the exchange rates between the naira and the dollar not to be as high as this. Now, do you subscribe to that, and do you think actually not giving access to those, not giving dollar access to those who need dollar for tuition, medical tourism, and all other transactions that they do currently now, that makes the demand on the dollar to be high? Do you think that will help in improving the exchange rate between the dollar and the naira?
You see, Leslie is just looking for an excuse. Like I said, the physical side made it. One of the ministers, which I call the physical side, said that we should not look at the Jackpot syndrome as negativity. They also are bringing in effects into the economy. Let me give an example of Indian largest inflow of effects into the Indian economy is intellectuals. The MD of Google, the CEO of Google, the CEO of Microsoft, all these people are Indians. And at the time they were doing, these people we went to the US to school. And like I said, if you look at the school fees, about $49 billion in the CBN governor said for the past 10 years. And you look at what these Nigerians in the diaspora have been able to remit into the economy, you realize that it exceeded the school fees that we have given to them. So you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be, you should look at export of your intellectual property as also a means of earning effects into your economy. So you have given them one side of it, but you will need to come up with strategy that will make it attractive for them to bring these effects into your economy. That's what you should be thinking of, not blaming it at them. Now, I've talked about India. When you look at Brazil, Brazil's single export, largest export to outside of the world, is one of the largest export to the world is entertainment. And when we talk about entertainment, is football. They earn FX by football, whereby a lot of the Brazilian youngsters are being signed up by this foreign football club, and they earn FX into that. That's intellectual properties. So why are we now looking like if the only ways we can stabilize our currency is only by trade? Or no, you should look at education also as a tool of stabilizing your currency. What I've expected the CBN governor to do is to begin to liaise with the Nigerian Diaspora Commission to come together and say, you know what, how can we come up with a fund that will attract investment from Nigeria to the diaspora so that they will bring in most of those effects that are hanging there in, whether they are going through a lot of apps that are available for them to do the medium of exchange and their relative here get the money. Instead, let's see how we can create an investment fund. How can the CBN begin to say, look, we have a diaspora fund, and this is how much we as CBN will be paying you for bringing in this money into your country. Partner with the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. That's what I think they should be doing, not rather than criticizing that, oh, they've paid school fees for them, they've gone out, like if they have not remitted anything into the country. When you talk about medical tourism, who goes to medical tourism? Is it me and you? We don't go to medical tourism. Remember the last time the former president went to medical tourism for how many? Almost 8 years of his tenure. I think over 3 or 4 years. If we calculate it, it was form of medical tourism outside the shore of his country. Even until the last day of his administration, was he doing medical tourism. The current president also is also doing the same thing. So how many of them patronize Nigerian hospitals? And then do you blame them for not patronizing Nigerian hospitals? No, you don't blame them, because what hospital do you have? The only person, even him say that patronized Nigerian hospital was the former vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, when he did an operation here in one of the hospitals in Lagos. All others have gone outside the shore of this country. So if you are saying, okay, don't go for medical tourism, what alternative have you created in the medical sector? Look, Blessing, I have an incident whereby you go for scanning, and you are going to scan maybe for let me give you one, for cancer. Do you know that when you do that scanning, your sample will be sent to South Africa? It will take 3 weeks before it comes back to Nigeria. So how do people will survive? How would you start treatment? You will not be able to start treatment until this thing is done. So it's a major challenge, and I don't think the CBN is handling it the way they should handle it, by coming out to blame it on medical tourism and school fees. They need to do something about it rather than complaining.
All right, well said. Now, let's look at the advocacy for redenomination of the Naira. The CBN has said severally that it has no plan to do that this year. But some experts feel that's the way to go, looking at the reality playing out. What's your take, and give us the merit and the demerit if the CBN will go that route at this time?
I'm not an advocate of that. I don't see any merit in it. You look at countries that have done it. Where are they today? Ghana did it. Today, the dollar to the naira to the dollar in Ghana is still very, very high. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Look, the only way you can only way you can save your currency is balance of trade. So that's what you should be thinking about, not trying to do redenomination. At the end of the day, I always say water will find its level. You cannot get away with it. Look, it was the former the former CEO of the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. I try to remember, Yemi Kale, that said something. He said, you can get away with spiritual sin by going to God and asking for forgiveness. But when you commit economical sin, you will pay the price for it. So no matter how you go, you will pay the price for taking the wrong economic decision. And that's what we are suffering now. So you redenominate your currency and you don't have balance of trade, you come back. You pay for it. And sometimes when you do those wrong policy, you pay a higher price for it. So I'm not an advocate of it. I don't think we need to begin to look at balance of trade. How much are we exporting outside the shore of this country? How much are we importing? How much FX are we earning? That's what will stabilize your currency, not redenomination. Redenomination is a short-term policy that makes people excited, but at the long run, if you don't have the balance of trade, then you come back to where you are. You come back to being worse off than where you were before you redenomination the currency. I don't think that's something that we should even think about. The CBN is not thinking about it. I think that's the right thing to do.
Let's look at the new CBN review of the price deviation for exports, which says that the allowable limit of price division for exports and imports shouldn't be more than plus 15% or minus 15% of the global average prices, respectively. What's your take on this?
My take on this, Blessing, is what is the CBN? Why is the CBN busy doing what they shouldn't be doing? Why are they not the one putting the rate in the ports at 1,500? They've changed that rate about 15 times, 17 times in the month of February, from a low of 925 exchange, import duty charge to now at 1,500. So what are they saying? If you are not even balancing your own, then you're not telling us that we must not go beyond this. Have you done that to yourself? So you see, we need to be careful the way, because that's what I keep saying. The president says something, a physical side, which I like to say, and the monetary side is saying another thing. The president said, I will not set up a price control board to be controlling Nigerians on how much to sell your goods or that and that. And here we are, the CBN on the other hand is telling you that you must not go beyond this, you must not go beyond this. No, come up with economic policy that will make me not go beyond that. Why is it the port charges are going up by the day? And you say I should remember my goods should be. Port charges have gone up by almost 59% between January and February. And you say that I should not go beyond 15% when you have hiked on about 59%. Come on. Let's be serious here. I don't think it will work.
Now, if you are in position to advise the CBN governor, I know you are not a special advisor to the CBN, but for the sake of this conversation, let's assume you're in that position now. What will be your recommendations in the interim, short term, and then in the long term, for them to be able to address this issue of the free fall of the naira, the issue of liquidity, and also to stabilize the market?
Okay, thank you. I like that word, if I'm the advisor, and you answered it, I'm not the advisor. And I want to remind you of the former president that said, your own is to advise, my own is to take your advice. So sometimes all this, the governor won't say he doesn't have some of these advisors that are going to say what I've said. Now it's not left for him to take it, whether he wants to take it or not. Now, if you tell me in the short time, what I would do is that I look at, I just talked about the ports now. I will look at how we pegging expenditure at 800 and then investment at 1.5. So I look the other way. Can we just do the expenditure at 1.5 and then stabilize the rate for investment to come in with 800 for the short term? That's one of the ways I will look at first. Secondly, I will look at how do I come up with a product that will attract Nigeria in the diaspora
In the heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi. My name is Temere Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Heart of sub-Saharan Africa, where commerce meets progress. Welcome to Souq News, your source for business, economy, and development insight that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, Souq News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. Souq News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, Souq News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. Souq News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi. My name is Temere Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
The challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This early exchange with Femi Ayodele.
You know, the early exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
The challenge of governance is to see how we can leverage what is on the ground and convert this to wealth for the people.
Russia, China are gaining entry into Africa, and it would appear that some Western countries are losing out.
You're working as an expatriate worker, then you're paid in your currency. But then if you must spend those money, you need to convert those money to the local currency to spend.
For Social Security to work, we need to know exactly how many we are. We don't have a precise number. We need to know exact location of people.
When we address this exchange rate volatility, we will see definitely cost of goods and services will come down.
From a security point of view, we should employ the technology to ensure that we can track individuals and goods within the continent.
This is Early Exchange with Femi Ayodele.
The Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're set to give you the best of programming.
And Blessing Aiche.
We do hope that you enjoy every time you spend with us here today. The world needs peace. The world needs to come to a round table and find solutions to the pockets of troubles.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Early Exchange, and we're looking at CBN's Forex policies. We have Mokhtar Mohammed, who's a financial analyst, joining us on the conversation virtually. Mokhtar, thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's take a look again at the revised price deviation limit of the CBN. Now, earlier you said that the CBN is going into what it should not be going, and the reason you gave for that was that import duty is also a reason, and there are so many other costs to importation or even export. But let's look at this against the backdrop of Forex racketeering. Now, if the CBN says that the price deviation limit shouldn't be more than plus or minus 15%, do you think that will in any way help the situation, as what we see is a trend where within a week you can have two different prices for the same item imported into the country? Now, the price deviation limit is supposed to ensure that the difference is not so much apart from what you have as the global price average of that product. What's your thoughts?
Let's start with global price average. Let's look at where is this produced. The cost of production in the UK and in the US is different, and when you're importing it from China, is different. That is one. So you don't use the global price in China, then your inflation is about 29%, and you're saying that I won't go beyond 15 to something percent. You are not looking at other costs that I will incur in the port, that still stayed in the port. So if you have hiked your rate at that point, that also is going to come into my cost as a cost of production. Then I'll go in turn that to the consumer. So, like I said, if you have global best practice where your inflationary pressure and that of the US and that of the UK is coming down, then you begin to look at it and say, look, you cannot go beyond this because inflation is about 3-point-something%, the inflation is about 2.9%. So that's when you can begin to say that. So as it stands now, you can't even make mention of that. As far as I'm concerned, it's just been not being sincere. Like you pointed it out. You say global, you're looking at global price. And then global price in the UK, global price in the US is different from global price in Europe, because other factors will come to be this. Where is it manufactured? What are the costs of the tariff that they pay? So there's a lot of things involved before you begin to talk about the boundary of 15 or to 10%. It will not work as long as you have not maintained stability, either in inflationary pressure has not come down, neither have you maintained stability also in charges in the port, and neither have you brought stability in the exchange rate. It's not possible.
All right. Globally, the trend now is for nations to look at how they can de-dollarize their economy. You have this advocacy for nations to join BRICS economic bloc, and you have South Africa taking that lead. There are those who argue, some experts who argue that if Nigeria could be part of that economic bloc, that would give an opportunity to sell our crude in Naira. Do you see this being helpful or visible in helping to solve the crisis that Nigeria is battling with?
Femi, how is that possible? Now, let me give you an example of South Africa. They have large car manufacturers in South Africa that manufacture in South Africa. They have gold there. They produce gold in South Africa. Their steel companies are doing well. Their per capita income is high. They have power. They have attracted the giants in terms of manufacturers and everything in South Africa. So if you decide to do that, then you are looking at your balance of trade. That's when it works. I'll give you a simple example. How have we not been able to have the single currency in West Africa? It's because we don't have balance of trade. How many trade is it going on between yourself? That's when you begin to say, okay, we begin to look at the median of exchange. I am doing so exit amount of trade with you. You are doing so amount of trade with me. So instead of me to be, okay, you collect my Naira, then I collect, you collect my own Naira when I'm doing trading. I also collect your own. You know, that makes it sounds well. Because we are doing balance of trade. At the end of the day, you give me back my Naira, I give you back your currency, we'll be able to do balance of trade. But when you look at the balance of trade in Nigeria, you are realizing that we are not even doing it, we are not exporting anything than crude oil. So is it only the crude oil that will now say, okay, we sell our crude. Now you sell your crude and you get Naira. When you want to do turnaround maintenance of your refinery, when you want to do, you don't have the facility to the turnaround maintenance, people are not in Nigeria. And they now tells you that you have to pay them in dollars to come and do that maintenance. How does that work? So people just say things and you don't go Brexit because of China, or US. US is still the largest economy in the world. They are involved in almost everything. All the largest corporations in the world are in the US. So no matter how much you go with this, your Brexit and blah, blah, the Brazil that you are talking about, the China you are talking about, the South African you are talking about, they still do more trade with the United States than any other state. So the median of exchange will be dollar. The US have made themselves a global financial hub. There's no how you can take it away from there. They have power, they have infrastructure, they have cost of fund, they have credit, everything is table. So most of these countries that are saying, look at the poverty rate in these countries. So it will not work.
All right, thank you very much, Mokhtar Mohammed, financial analyst, for your great submissions on the show today. It's always a delight having you on L Exchange.
Thank you, Blessing. Thank you, Femi, for always having me. Always a pleasure to be on your program too. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's it on the show today. I am Blessing AG. Do ensure that you do your part to ensure the change that you want to see, and stay with Souq News for the rest of the day.
And don't forget, Market Insight comes up at 11. It's also another program that is meant to shape policy and give you insights about what is happening in the market. Don't forget, Early Exchange returns tomorrow. I am Femi Ayodele. Bye for now.